I had been secretly dating my best friend's brother for a year. We were planning to go public on his birthday. The day before his birthday, I went with my best friend to bring him lunch. But we ran into my boyfriend holding hands tightly with the most popular girl in our course. My best friend exclaimed, "Wow, my brother's quite the catch." He managed to snag the campus belle so quickly. I clenched my fist, forcing a bitter smile as I nodded. Hugh and his girlfriend do make a lovely couple. Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. As I approached Hugh Ashworth's lab with my best friend, he was just stepping out. He leaned lightly against the wall, lit a cigarette, and looked down at his phone. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I sneakily checked it, a message from him saying just finished the experiment. Seeing his exhausted appearance, my heart ached for him. With graduation approaching, the pressure of his thesis was immense. I was relieved to see him taking a break, glad I hadn't disturbed his studies too much. Clutching the lunchbox in my hand, I was about to approach when Cecily suddenly pulled me behind a tree trunk. Nadia Jocelyn, the most popular girl in our year, was pushing open the lab door and walking towards Hugh. She was wearing a white pleated skirt, tilting her head and smiling at Hugh. Cecily frantically shook my arm, exclaiming in surprise, "Oh my God, Ginny, is there something going on between them?" There couldn't be anything between them, because I was the one with Hugh. Hugh and I had been dating for a year. Although our relationship was secret, he treated me well and our feelings for each other were steadily growing stronger. I reassured myself firmly in my mind. But in the next moment, Hugh immediately stubbed out his cigarette. He'd been a smoker for several years. Even though I'd pleaded with him many times to quit for his health, he never budged. He knew I hated the smell of smoke, yet he never hid it around me. But in front of Nadia, he immediately put out his cigarette. Nadia playfully punched his arm, and he affectionately took her hand. Their fingers intertwined. I suddenly hesitated to move forward. But Cecily excitedly dragged me in front of them. Well, Hugh Ashworth, keeping a secret romance from us, are you?" Seeing our arrival, his expression froze for a moment, quickly changing to impatience. "Why did you come without notice?" His hand didn't let go, instead gripping tighter. "Oh, it's just that Ginny's mum made some delicious food and said to bring it over to you." Hugh's gaze shifted to my hands, and suddenly the lunchbox felt inexplicably hot. This wasn't made by my mum, but the result of my afternoon's labor in the kitchen. Having never cooked before, my fingers were now wrapped in plasters. To keep Cecily from suspecting anything, I lied that it was my mum's cooking. Nadia leaned gently into Hugh's embrace and said softly, "But Hugh and I already planned to go for hot pot together." I love hot pot too, with its spicy and steaming broth. But Hugh can't eat spicy food. So to cater to his taste, we always choose mild dishes when eating out. Even the cuisine I made today doesn't have a hint of chili. He pressed his lips together in silence, and the atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Cecily smoothed things over with a laugh. "No worries, you two go ahead, I'll enjoy this lunchbox." "By the way, when did you two?" she asked curiously. Nadia shyly hid behind him and said, "It's only been a month, really. So I'd been kept in the dark for a whole month already." Cecily turned to me and exclaimed, "My brother's quite the catch, snagging the campus belle so quickly." Nadia waved her hand. "Actually, he's been pursuing me for almost a year." It had also been a year since he took my hand on his birthday last year, blushing as he said, "Why don't we give us a try?" During that year, I accompanied him through late-night revision sessions and endless phone calls until dawn. That year, he took me to concerts. Laughing as he said he'd propose to me at such a grand event in the future. While I was lost in beautiful fantasies of our future, he was passionately courting the campus belle. On countless nights when he told me he was tired and said good night, as I put down my phone hoping to see him in my dreams. Was he actually lulling Nadia to sleep? Lost in thought, Cecily excitedly shook my hand. My brother's really made something of himself. My mind was in chaos, and I only heard my own trembling voice. Yes, Hugh and his girlfriend make a lovely couple. The pair before me seemed a perfect match. The academic genius and the campus belle, more compatible than he and I ever were. The two girls chatted and laughed, with Hugh occasionally chiming in, his words full of fondness for Nadia. Speak nicely, don't scare Nadia. Don't tell Nadia about my embarrassing childhood stories. Are you hungry? Shall we go for dinner first? I couldn't take in anything they were saying, and was eventually led away in a daze by Cecily. Behind us, the couple continued their flirting. You promised to quit smoking, but you're still sneaking cigarettes. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm sorry, I promise you. I just couldn't resist this once. I promise I'll never smoke again. So it wasn't that he couldn't quit smoking. He just wouldn't quit for someone he didn't love. The next day was Hugh's birthday. We had originally planned to announce our relationship to his family and friends today. When we first got together, he said we should keep it a secret from everyone. Our families are too close, and you're so close with my sister. It feels awkward to reveal our relationship, he had said. I trusted him, so I was willing to wait until our relationship was stable before making it public. A little over a month ago, I excitedly said to him, "Your birthday is coming up soon. Let's go public then." He smiled, patted my head, and agreed. Later he became very busy, spending all his time in the laboratory. Apart from good morning and good night messages, he had almost zero communication with me, his girlfriend. With dark circles under my eyes from a sleepless night, I looked at the gift I had carefully prepared for him on the table. A gaming console I had bought by saving money from my part-time job. He loved playing games, and I hoped that after this busy period, we could play together. It seemed I wouldn't be able to give it to him now. I fell face first into my pillow. Hugh's phone call came through. This was his first call to me since yesterday afternoon. He asked, "Are you coming to my birthday party today?" I smiled bitterly and asked in return, "What do you think?" There was silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, he spoke softly, "Ginny, I do hope you'll come. After all, in my heart, you're just like Cecily, both of you are younger sisters to me. A year of dating, and in the end, I'm just a sister to him." This call wasn't really about wanting me to attend. It was a one-sided declaration that we were no longer in a relationship. Or perhaps, we never were in one to begin with. I suddenly admired his foresight. As long as no one knew about our relationship, ending it would be easy. Just like now, without even a proper, decent breakup. How laughable. I forced a cheerful tone, "Sure, I'll be there soon. Nadia is here too, you. Don't worry, I won't say anything." There was a sigh of relief on the other end of the line. As if he had been absolved of a burden. I didn't understand how someone who called me darling just 2 days ago now saw me as a burden. I sighed, picked up the carefully wrapped gift box, put on my makeup, and left. The birthday party was held at a hotel near the university, attended by many of Hugh's classmates and friends. I didn't know any of them, as he had never introduced me to his social circle. Nadia, however, seemed quite familiar with everyone. They playfully addressed her as Hugh's girl, much to her apparent delight. From their conversations, I learned about the couple's romantic history. It turned out that Hugh had fancied Nadia for a long time. The campus belle had been too aloof, leaving him with no opportunity to get closer. It wasn't until nearly a year ago, when they were assigned to the same supervisor, that things changed. Working together on a project, they gradually became intimate. Nadia blushed at their teasing remarks, while Hugh smiled beside her, shielding her from excessive toasts. Half an hour had passed since I arrived, and he hadn't glanced my way even once. Having grown up together, he was confident that I wouldn't cause a scene or embarrass him, given my nature. He was right. I wouldn't. Faced with the lovey-dovey couple, admitting I was just an unofficial girlfriend of a year with no real status, and not particularly attractive at that, filled me with bitterness. I downed one pint after another, despite Cecily's attempts to stop me. By the end, my mind was a complete muddle. Cecily sighed, "Wait here. I'll pop to the loo and then take you home." As soon as she left, I slipped away on my own. The day I had most looked forward to had turned into such an ordeal. At that moment, I didn't want to speak to anyone or have anyone around me. Across the street was a packed hot pot restaurant. The last time I'd been there was over a year ago. Suddenly, I had an intense craving for hot pot. I shook my heavy head and asked the waiter for a table number. "I'm sorry, miss, but it's peak dining time now. Since you're alone, perhaps you should come back another time," he replied. I looked around and saw groups of people waiting at the entrance, gathered in threes and fives. Being alone did feel out of place. But I hadn't eaten or drunk anything all day, and I was really craving some hot pot. Suddenly, I felt like everything in my life was going wrong. It was bad enough that my boyfriend had cheated on me. And now I couldn't even get a simple meal. I was truly down on my luck. Just then, a table in the outdoor corner of the restaurant caught my attention. He seemed to be alone too, eating slowly and methodically. The black hoodie he wore had a logo on the back. It was the law school sweatshirt from our university. A fellow student, then. Perhaps we could share a table. I tried to steady my swaying body and, emboldened by the alcohol, walked straight up to him and bent down to ask, "Excuse me, are you alone?" The young man with the neat hair and the black hoodie didn't even look up. "I'm not giving out my WhatsApp," he said. I hurriedly waved my hands to explain. No, that's not it. I'm alone too, and it's so busy I can't get a table. Could I possibly share with you?" I added generously, "We're from the same uni, don't worry. Whatever you've had so far, we'll split the bill." At this, he finally looked up from his bowl, eyeing me suspiciously. Now I could see his face clearly. I hadn't been wrong to call him handsome. In fact, he was exceptionally good-looking. A rare find even at our science and engineering-focused university. Bolstered by the alcohol. I was so dazzled by his looks that I nearly toppled headfirst into the hot pot. At the last moment, he reached out and steadied me by the arm. Apart from a plate of dried soya cream that was knocked to the ground, there were no casualties. He frowned at the spilled food and said, "That's going on your tab." I nodded vigorously, "No problem." As I sat down across from him, and finally tasted the beef slices covered in tahini that I hadn't had in so long, I was nearly moved to tears with happiness. At that moment, Hugh must be just as happy in the hotel across the street. I sniffled and wiped my stinging eyes roughly. Who says you can't hold back sneezes and the look in your eyes when you like someone? Now, I couldn't hold back my tears either. With the beef still in my mouth, I burst into loud sobs. The handsome guy across from me glanced at me several times before silently passing me a tissue. And so this hot pot meal ended with me crying and stuffing meat into my mouth while he passed tissues and added ingredients to the pot. As I was nearly full, the alcohol finally hit me. At that moment, it seemed like 3 handsome men were sitting in front of me. The meatballs appeared to be undergoing mitosis. And in the spinning room, I thought I heard my phone ringing. It was Hugh's favorite song. I closed my eyes, and my head fell onto the table. I vaguely felt a hand with distinct knuckles swiftly remove the sauce bowl in front of me. The person opposite sighed softly and picked up my phone from the table. I closed my eyes heavily, unable to hear any sound. When I woke up again, Cecily was calling my name anxiously. Hugh stood beside her, his expression gloomy. Nadia's expression was also a bit strange, her gaze shifting between me and the handsome guy. I hazily heard the guy's clear voice, "She's quite drunk. You'd better take her home quickly." I don't remember what happened after that, but Cecily took me home. When I woke up, she asked me why I was having hot pot with Kevin Reed yesterday. Who's Kevin Reed? I'd never heard of him. I asked Cecily, "Do you know him?" Who doesn't know him? He's the heartthrob from the law school next door, and a rich kid too. Countless girls have pursued him. She whispered, I heard Nadia also fancied him when she first started uni. It was then that I suddenly remembered Hugh might have mentioned him before. He said there was a pretentious junior in the neighboring department who drove different cars to school every day. He also said the guy wasn't even that good looking, and he couldn't understand why the girls in his department were so crazy about him. Now I realize, the girl he was referring to was Nadia. At that time, I was still in awe of Hugh and believed everything he said. Now I see it was pure jealousy. Because Kevin Reed is truly handsome, with clear features and a clean boyish charm. Yesterday, after Cecily hoisted me up, He stood up from the small stool to pay the bill, suddenly stretching to over 6 feet tall. His legs were almost as long as my entire torso. Speaking of which, I suddenly remembered I hadn't paid him back for my share yet. I fumbled for my phone under the pillow. There was a pinned message on WhatsApp from Hugh. He had always been my special contact. "Are you feeling better?" In the past, when we went out together, he never allowed me to drink. Girls shouldn't drink too much. "At future gatherings, I'll drink on your behalf." But I never got to see that. Instead, I could only watch as he shielded his official girlfriend, whom he had announced to the whole world, from drinking. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I replied, "Thanks for your concern, but please don't worry about me anymore." The typing indicator appeared quickly on his end. After a long wait, he sent, "As a brother, I'll always hope for your well-being, no matter what." In my memories, Hugh at 7 years old snatched back my beloved toy from other children. At 13, he helped me tease the boys who bullied me. At 19, he patiently taught me maths and physics. During our year together, he was indeed a dutiful boyfriend. The Hugh in my memories was so perfect that I couldn't accept that I had misjudged him. I stared at this message for several minutes, suddenly feeling a sense of closure. Finally, I swiped away the friend box and deleted our countless chat records. These were once my treasures, which I had planned to print out as mementos of our love. Just like this relationship that he casually dismissed as brotherly love. It all disappeared without a trace with a light swipe of my finger. After my classes finished for the week, I rushed over to the law building next door, hoping to catch a glimpse of Kevin. "Looking for someone?" a cool voice sounded from behind me. I turned around. It was Kevin Reed. The last time I'd seen him was at night, and I'd been too drunk to remember much beyond thinking he was handsome. Now, seeing him in the sunlight, his features were even more striking, and his good looks hit me with full force. I sheepishly approached him. Do you remember me? From the hot pot place?" He looked down with a slight smile. "I do." "What's up? How much was the hot pot?" "I don't remember." "What about your payment record?" "I deleted it." "Oh no! What should we do?" "You could always treat me to make up for it." He turned to leave, giving me a view of his broad shoulders and slim waist. I stood there, dumbfounded. He glanced back. "What are you waiting for? Come on." I scurried after him, falling into step beside him. It was still early, so the hot pot restaurant wasn't busy and we didn't have to queue. We had just sat down when I saw Hugh and Nadia walking arm in arm. Hugh looked startled when he saw me, but quickly composed himself. Nadia, on the other hand, didn't look too pleased. She approached us. "Hi there, having hot pot too, together?" I'd never interacted with her before, but I'd heard from Cecily that there was a pretty girl in their department who was known for her innocent charm. Hugh had mentioned her too, but only in passing, saying his supervisor had asked him to mentor her. She was addressing Kevin, not me. Kevin raised an eyebrow at me, as if asking my opinion. Hugh looked worried, his eyes darting between his girlfriend and Kevin. I agreed cheerfully, moving from across Kevin to sit beside him, making room for the couple. Nadia looked at the menu and asked, "Can we get the all-spicy hot pot?" Hugh smiled and said, "Whatever you like." When you love someone, you're willing to change your preferences for them. I, who couldn't live without spicy food, was now willing to eat mild dishes for him. And he was willing to try the spicy hot pot he couldn't handle before, all for Nadia. I zoned out for a moment until Kevin waved his pen in front of my eyes, bringing me back to reality. He turned to me and asked, "Do you want some sliced beef?" I nodded. He ticked 2 portions and casually said, "Last time, I didn't get to eat a single slice of beef. You scooped them all up as soon as they went into the pot." I felt a bit embarrassed. "Then you should order more." He chuckled, "Didn't you get an upset stomach last time?" I saw that meat, it didn't even look cooked. Nadia overheard and looked at me curiously. "You two seem quite close." It was strange, really. This was only the second time Kevin and I had met. Yet he spoke to me without any reservations. It sounded like we'd been friends for years. Hugh chimed in, his tone cold. They're not close. They didn't even know each other before. Kevin, who had been focused on ordering, looked up at Hugh's words, studying him with interest. He seemed to be gauging the subtle dynamics between us. Nadia quickly changed the subject, saying, Kevin and I are quite familiar. We were in the same society at uni. Not really, Kevin replied. We've only met a couple of times. Nadia's smile froze on her face, and the atmosphere became incredibly awkward. Kevin spoke without mincing his words. And Hugh seemed to dislike everything about him. The situation was bizarre. After all, Hugh was sitting next to his official girlfriend, while his secret girlfriend of a year sat across from him. Nadia was next to her perfect boyfriend, facing the sarcastic heartthrob she once fancied. I could only keep my head down and eat, hoping to finish quickly and end this strange gathering. When the couple opposite us went to the restroom, Kevin suddenly asked me, "Do you like him?" I thought I had hidden it well, but he saw right through me. I tried to deny it. No, of course not. He tilted his head, leaning back against the cushion, and said with a smirk, "Want me to give you a hand?" The girl next to him confessed her feelings to me. "If I beckon, she'll come obediently. You could easily take advantage of the situation," he said. His words made me uncomfortable, feeling as if my dignity had been insulted. Even though I was still experiencing withdrawal symptoms from the abrupt end of our relationship, I clearly understood that no matter how dazzling he once was in my eyes, he was now just a two-timing scoundrel. In other words, I was lovesick but clear-headed. I glared at him fiercely. "Don't talk nonsense when you know nothing. He has a girlfriend now." "Oh, so you're aware he has a girlfriend?" He sat up straight, his smile fading as he spoke seriously. "With so many single people around, why fancy someone who's taken?" Kevin's words suddenly enlightened me. Indeed, there are so many men out there. Why waste time on Hugh Ashworth? This is a science university after all. How hard could it be to find a charming, handsome guy? I nodded at him sincerely in agreement. "You're right, wise one." He rubbed his nose. "Actually, I'm also." The two across from us returned just then, cutting our conversation short. The atmosphere between them was tense, as if they'd just had an argument. Nadia's eyes were a bit red, and Hugh's expression wasn't much better. She forced a smile. "Sorry, we have something to attend to. We'll be off now." After they left, I indulged in 2 more servings of beef slices. Kevin clicked his tongue in amazement. "You're officially my hot pot buddy from now on." I smacked my lips. "Why's that?" "You eat so much." "Watching you eat makes me hungry." Kevin and I have indeed become hot pot buddies. Mainly because I saw him eating hot pot alone last time, looking quite lonely. I felt he didn't have many friends and it was rather pitiful. Secondly, he's so pleasing to the eye that I find myself having quite an appetite when I look at him. So we've made it a habit to go out for a couple of meals every week. After eating together often, we discovered that we're truly the perfect pair when it comes to ordering. We always agree instantly on what to get. Occasionally, I have evening elective classes and don't finish until 8 or 9. He would wait for me at the entrance of the lecture building, drawing curious onlookers. Cecily teased, "Is there something going on between you and Kevin?" I flatly denied it. She nodded thoughtfully. "I suppose you're right. If Nadia couldn't catch him, how could such incredible luck befall you?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Though my brother and her seem to have had a row recently. They're barely speaking to each other. We used to argue too, and I was usually the one to make up first. He should probably make the first move to reconcile with the dream girl he worked so hard to win over. Hugh has been messaging me frequently lately, sending good morning and good night texts, asking if I've eaten. It's even more often than when we were in the honeymoon phase. I've told him several times to stop messaging me, but to no avail. Finally, I blocked him, giving myself some peace and quiet. That day, after finishing hot pot with Kevin, it was nearly 10 p.m. He offered to drive me home, and I didn't stand on ceremony. After all, we've become quite familiar now, sometimes even bantering while we eat. He's like a chatterbox, talking nonstop for 2 or 3 hours at times. I still can't figure out how he got the reputation of being aloof and unapproachable. When I saw his flashy matte black sports car, I finally understood why Hugh said he was showing off. Well, it does look rather ostentatious. Even with the top up, it's quite eye-catching. The car rumbled to a stop outside my building. Just as I was about to get out, he stopped me. There's something I want to tell you. He hesitated, stammering uncharacteristically. I turned to look at him suspiciously. In the dim streetlight, a barely noticeable blush seemed to creep across his cheeks and the tips of his ears. We had medium spicy broth today. Did it affect him this much? I gave him a sympathetic look and said generously, "There's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you can't handle spicy food, we'll go for mild next time." I get you. At this, his face visibly reddened even more. A knock on the car window startled me. I turned to see Hugh bending down, his expression tinged with displeasure. It had been nearly a month since I'd last seen him. I'd even been avoiding dinner invitations from Cecily to their house. Suddenly, Kevin leaned in close beside me, his presence almost overwhelming. His clean, crisp scent left me momentarily dazed. Ready to go? I could feel his warm breath on my face as he spoke. I nodded. We were already at my building. I couldn't very well avoid going home just because I'd spotted Hugh. Kevin's lips tightened as he reached over, his strong arm brushing past me to unbuckle my seatbelt. Mate, this is a bit much for just hot pot buddies, I thought to myself. I could almost hear my own heart skip a beat. He chuckled softly, "Off you go then. I'll pick you up Monday morning." As I stepped out, the summer evening breeze caressed my face, bringing a hint of coolness. I reached up, only to realize my cheeks were burning. "Why did you block me?" Hugh's voice was like a bucket of cold water. In all our time together, this was probably the first time he'd waited for me outside my flat. He always said it wouldn't look good if my parents saw him. Countless cigarette butts lay at his feet. Who knows how long he'd been waiting. In the past, I would have excitedly run up and thrown my arms around his neck. But now, I just sneered and retorted, "Is it appropriate for you to message me every day when you have a girlfriend?" He was at a loss for words, unable to answer. Then he changed tack and asked, "What's going on between you and that Kevin Reed?" I couldn't fathom what Hugh was playing at now. For the past year, I'd been kept in the dark, basking in the false happiness he'd given me, only to discover in the end that I was like a substitute player who never made it onto the field. Despite training even harder than the starting lineup, I never got to play, never received any applause. I even had to sit on the sidelines and cheer for their victories. I'd accepted this outcome rather calmly. But now Hugh seemed to be wavering. I glanced at him sideways, my tone impatient. "How is that any of your business?" I'd never spoken to him like this before. His eyes reddened with anger. "Kevin's not a good bloke. Stay away from him. As if you're such a good person? Dating me while chasing after your dream girl, then calling me just a sister once you got her? And now you're strutting about like a peacock in front of me? Hugh Ashworth, how low can you get?" It seems spending time with Kevin had sharpened my ability to cut people down. As soon as the harsh words left my mouth, Hugh stood there, completely stunned. I pushed past him, heading for the entrance. "Ginny, I regret it." His voice was hoarse, making me pause for a moment. But my heart only softened for an instant. The next second, I walked away without looking back. Kevin has been acting rather strange lately. I keep seeing him in my elective courses at university. He's been asking me out for meals more frequently too. Sometimes he sits behind me in class. And in the middle of the lecture, he'll poke my back with his pen. There's a new authentic French restaurant on River Road. Want to go after class? My mom made some mulligatawny soup. Shall I bring you a bowl? Thanks to our combined efforts, I've gained nearly a stone in the past 2 months. I've even developed a bit of a muffin top. He, on the other hand, looks as fit as ever in his clothes. As for how he looks without them, well, I wouldn't know. I turn around and glare at him. "No food. No food. No food." He quietly retreats. Cecily elbows me. Hang on, are you two actually an item? My brother broke up with that campus belle. He told me he wants to pursue you now. She blinks at me, seemingly waiting for my response. She doesn't know about everything that's happened between us before. I sigh and say, Hugh is great, but I'm not interested in him. I didn't expect her to tell Hugh so quickly. As soon as class ends, Hugh corners me at the classroom door. He sends Cecily away and leads me to a quiet stairwell. Cecily said you don't like me. I don't believe it. We used to be so close. You liked me so much. How could you suddenly stop liking me? It wasn't until I was with her that I realized. After being with you for a year, you had slowly filled up all the space in my heart. Ginny, we can start over. We can be as happy as we were before. Hugh knows how much I used to like him, so he's recklessly squandering that affection. He even thinks I'll wait for him forever in the same spot. But I won't. I don't think he deserves it. As he gets emotional, he grips my shoulders tightly. I'm about to forcefully shake him off and scoff at how full of himself he is, when we hear a light chuckle from above. It's a very familiar voice. Kevin peeks his fluffy head over the banister, looking down at us nonchalantly. I'm sorry, but I really couldn't bear to listen anymore. You there, whatever your name is, mate. Would you mind letting go of my girlfriend now? Kevin sauntered down the stairs, his hands lazily tucked into his trouser pockets. He suddenly pulled me into his embrace. Pressed against Kevin's chest, his body heat radiated through my back, causing my entire body to flush with warmth. Hugh, his eyes reddened with disbelief, asked me, is what he's saying true? I nodded numbly. Kevin, naturally taller than Hugh, looked down at him challengingly. I'm taking her out for dinner. Care to be the third wheel, mate? I had never seen Hugh look so devastated. His eyes were vacant, his entire demeanor deflated. He walked away in a daze. I wriggled free from Kevin's arms, my heart still racing. He bent down to my eye level, his tone tinged with exasperation. You're something else, Ginny. You act all tough around me, but how can you let others push you around like this? Well, it wasn't that bad. Apart from secretly adding coriander to his soup bowl, which he hates, wiping my wet hands on his clothes after washing them, and nicking that adorable little bear keychain from his backpack. I wasn't really that cheeky. I lowered my head in embarrassment, fidgeting with my clothes. He gently gripped my wrist to stop me, sighing. You seem so clever usually. But you've been fooled for a year and didn't say a word, bottling up all your emotions. Hearing this, I couldn't hold back anymore. My lips quivered, and I was about to burst into tears. I felt so bloody miserable. Kevin panicked, patting my back gently while trying to wipe away my tears. Finally, he mentioned he'd brought me some mulligatawny soup, which smelled delicious and would get cold if I didn't have it soon. This managed to stop my tears. I looked up into his eyes, deep and gentle, as if they held a million stars. Cecily was right, Kevin's eyes could make even a dog feel special. I almost fell for it, shaking my head vigorously to clear the jumbled thoughts from my mind. But he cupped my face with both hands, examining me closely. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Startled by his sudden move, I stammered, and no, that's not it. He smiled and said, then let me ask you, how about being my girlfriend for real? And just like that, I somehow became Kevin's girlfriend. And it was all out in the open, too. When Cecily found out, she couldn't stop praising me for my boldness. I never would have guessed, Ginny. No wonder you weren't interested in my brother. You had your sights set on Kevin all along. He would hold my hand in front of everyone and introduce me to his friends without any hesitation. 2 weeks after we started dating, he took me to a gathering with his course mates. A few of them stared at me for a while before curiously asking him, "Isn't this the girl who swung the same arm and leg together during military training? You really do have a type, don't you?" It's true, I did move them in unison during the military training. I even got pulled aside by the instructor for some extra training because of it. Had Kevin noticed me back then? Kevin coughed loudly, interrupting their conversation. Tonight's on me, everyone. Less talking, more eating and drinking. He put his arm around me and told me not to drink, saying I'd be driving later. He was in high spirits that night and had quite a few drinks. By the end, he was slumped in the passenger seat, reaching out to me with grabby hands for a hug. I pushed him away firmly. Men can only distract from safe driving. After I parked outside his house, I took a moment to study his face closely. His eyelashes looked so long when his eyes were closed, casting dense shadows beneath them. His lips were thin, tempting to kiss. But I had more important things to do right now. After all, it's easiest to get information out of someone when they're drunk. I ruffled his hair, which I usually couldn't reach without standing on tiptoes. It felt soft and fluffy, like a puppy's fur. "When did you fall in love with me?" He opened his eyes, looking a bit dazed. The girl swung the same arm and leg together. She was cute. His red lips parted slightly, and I couldn't resist leaning in to kiss him. It seems this guy wasn't as drunk as he appeared. He cupped the back of my head with one hand, quickly taking control of the kiss. One night, just as I had said goodnight to Kevin and was about to go to bed, Cecily called. "Ginny, can you come over now?" she asked. "My brother's drunk and insisting on seeing you." I sighed, changed my clothes, and headed out. Recently, Hugh had been finding every opportunity to see me, either asking Cecily to invite me out for dinner, or coming to my house to deliver things from his mom. We'd have to face each other eventually, and Cecily and I were still friends. It was better to clear the air for everyone's sake. When I arrived at the pub, I found Hugh sprawled on the sofa, mumbling my name. Cecily stood nearby, looking exasperated and repeatedly apologizing to me. "Is my brother mental or what?" she said. "We told him you have a boyfriend, but he's drinking like there's no tomorrow." Hugh suddenly sat up, grabbing me tightly as soon as he saw me. "Is there really no chance?" he slurred. "It's all right, Ginny. If you break up with him, we can go back to how we were before." Cecily was stunned by his words. "Wait. What does that mean?" I took a deep breath and explained the whole story to her. It was the first time I had openly talked about the situation that had made me so upset. Cecily was silent at first, then gave her unconscious brother a hard kick before hugging me and crying. Hugh also collapsed on the sofa, sobbing and shouting, "Why can't we go back? We've known each other for so many years, why can't I compare to a few months with him?" In the past, I might have lashed out, demanding to know why the person in the wrong thought they deserved forgiveness. But now, I felt there was nothing left to argue about. Cecily and I hauled Hugh into a taxi. When we reached my building, Cecily restrained Hugh as he tried to pull me back. Through her tears, she said, "Ginny, he has wronged you. Don't worry, Hugh will never bother you again. But you'll still be my best friend, won't you?" she added. I nodded with a smile and waved goodbye. By now, dawn was breaking. After such a long night, all I wanted was to complain to Kevin about how exhausted I was. I took out my phone and sent him a good morning message. "Good morning," came the reply. "Ginny, are you really determined to get back with that bastard?" I looked up to see him glowering at me, a steaming breakfast bag in his hand. Apparently, he had witnessed me getting out of the taxi, with Hugh still inside. Even if I had 10 tongues, I couldn't explain this away. I waved my hands frantically. "It's not what you think." Cecily called me over, said he was drunk. "What's it to you if he's drunk?" Kevin interrupted with a frown. "He's regretting his actions now, but that's his own doing. You shouldn't pity him." "Since when does the victim sympathize with the perpetrator?" I hung my head, lips pursed, not daring to speak. He rambled on for a while, like an agitated tiger. It seemed he was even angrier about my situation than I was. I moved closer and gently embraced him. His body stiffened, then a moment later he let out an almost inaudible sigh. His voice softened considerably. "Don't do this again, all right?" I buried my face in his chest, nodding vigorously. "Kevin, I really like you more and more now." He let out a soft grunt, hugging me tightly. "Still not as much as I like you, anyway." Much later, I realized that while I was naively admiring someone else, there had been a pair of eyes watching me for a very long time. I'm so grateful to myself for craving hot pot that day. Kevin's perspective. During military training, there was a girl with bangs in the class next door. Her cap brim almost covered half of her face, revealing only a round chin that looked like a small dumpling. She was singled out by the instructor. No matter how she tried, she couldn't march and step properly. My classmates laughed hysterically. "This little out-of-step girl is so funny." "She's quite cute," I replied, watching her clumsy movements. She kept marching while trying to hold her stomach, and finally weakly raised her hand. "Sir, I had hot pot yesterday, and now I need the loo." This brought another round of laughter. Later, I often bumped into the little out-of-step girl at the hot pot restaurant near the school gates. She could really eat, ordering plate after plate of beef slices. It felt like her mouth was a bottomless pit. Even with her cheeks puffed out, she could still stuff more in. I thought, having hot pot with someone like her must be delightful. Because of her, I also grew fond of eating hot pot. But later, I never ran into her at that restaurant again. Occasionally, I'd see her at school, always following far behind a senior from the chemistry department. Although they were far apart, her eyes never left him for a moment. I'd seen the senior before. There was a girl from the club who often brought me water, though I never knew her name. I'd seen him picking her up at the school gates. It's bad enough to know that the out-of-step girl has a one-sided crush. But to have one on someone who's not as good as me? No wonder she's a clumsy fool who can't march and step. I'd gotten used to eating hot pot alone. One day, as I was enjoying my meal, a voice came from behind. "Excuse me, are you alone?" I was used to being chatted up and promptly refused as usual. But this time I embarrassed myself. She just wanted to share the table for hot pot. I looked up and saw her with red eyes and nose. Still cute.